What does it mean for Black people to have a future? What does that look like?
In February 2018, Marvel's Black Panther broke box office records and elevated the phrase Afrofuturism to the forefront of the American lexicon. But Afrofuturism is a practice that goes far beyond the aesthetic of Black people donning cool science fiction-y costumes. It is a genre of speculative fiction that highlights what regular science fiction can't and won't.
Greg Tate has spoken about how Black people live the alienation that science fiction writers imagined.
The parallels between Black life and sci-fi storylines are blatant. Despite this, there has been a glaring exclusion of Black people from works of science fiction. As such, one might think that Black people would shy away from speculative fiction and instead opt to focus on the present.
We need to represent Blackness and Black people within every realm. We need to be able to see that that imagination is key, and representation has to do with allowing ourselves to be able to let our imaginations take flight, that creative impulse, that's essential.
Afro-aliens call us weird. Traveled through the galaxy and we landed here.
Afrofuturism is an art form, practice, and methodology that allows Black people to see themselves in the future despite a distressing past and present. It calls upon sci-fi imagery and futuristic ideas to reflect upon the marginalization of Black people. Practitioners conceptualize an array of visions of what a Black future could look like. But what does that look like? We identified 4 unique Afrofuturist artists who have used their work to imagine Black life beyond its current state of global oppression. A 500-year history of colonialism, slavery, racism, and segregation have left people of the African diaspora with a disjointed idea of what it really means to be home.
Always feeling like we ain't from here, this is not our land, this is not our people. Being considered like this thing that's to be feared, like this unknown.
Visual artist and hip-hop MC Jessica Voloris uses speculative fiction and science fiction tropes to encourage people of the African diaspora to phone home. Her piece, named after the famous E.T. line, uses audio soundscapes to allow people to audibly imagine what home might sound like. In her play, Enough VO5 for the Universe, Melanie Goodrow depicts a world 100 years into the future where God is a gender non-binary Black person. It is a vision of the future that celebrates Black queer lives in spite of present-day queer and trans antagonism. A toxic soup of poverty, misogyny, anti-Blackness, and transphobia leave Black transgender women and femmes at an exorbitantly high risk for being murdered.
I thought it was an expansive image of God, to think of God as a man who also can be a woman. We have to expand our ideas of what Black maleness is or Black femaleness is.
The most disrespected person in America is the Black woman. The most neglected person in America is the Black woman.
Black people are often caught in the ironic crosshairs of being hypervisible and invisible. Black women, for example, are often hypersexualized, leaving them at a greater risk for sexual assault and violence. Yet, they have also been largely left out of conversations around sexual violence, even following the rise of 2017's #MeToo movement. Afrofuturist costume designer and cosplayer Delta Major reclaims the narrative of how her body is perceived in the world. She creates clothes that she defines as wearable art, the goal of which are to define her beauty and sexuality on her own terms, whilst incorporating strong shapes and patterns that emphasize physical strength.
I feel like I can totally be in Wakanda, kicking some ass, taking some names.
And while Afrofuturists are hard at work producing art that rethinks the present, some artists use the genre to reimagine the past. In the graphic novel Maddie's Rocket, retro Afrofuturist Tim Fielder imagines a Jim Crow-era heroine named Maddie, who flies rocket ships and fights back against the KKK and aliens with her trusty rifle.
There have always been gun-wielding, Jim Crow fighting Black women, always. You just never saw them. Retro Afrofuturism is the filling in of those voids through speculative fiction.
Afrofuturism is a pathway to Black liberation. It provides an avenue to be able to transform ourselves and our communities.
The biggest Afrofuturist for me is Harriet Tubman. Like, she had dreams about liberation. She had dreams about freedom.
Black people have been engaging in Afrofuturism well before the term was coined by Mark Derry in 1994. Whether the state of Black life be perilous or prosperous, folks of the African diaspora will continue to imagine expansive ideas of Black life in the past, present, and beyond.